Hey, everybody. Welcome to another week, another episode of Industry Chats. I'm Jasmine Saliga, your host, founder of Affixify. And if you're new to Industry Chats, we do this show every Wednesday, typically at 12 o'clock Central. And it is a purely educational show for the hospitality industry where we talk about various topics that are relevant to our industry today. And I'm super excited to welcome my friend Rebecca Lombardo, fractional CMO at Rebecca Lombardo Agency. So welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Fellow boy mom, fellow female founders in hospitality friend. I mean, we have all kinds of connections. So I've been really looking forward to this. Rebecca was kind enough to have us on her show, Vendor Vibes. So I feel like we have to live up because she was such a good host.
Thank you.
So Rebecca, tell us a little bit. Of course, we're going to talk about AI in marketing today. I can't wait for that because I feel like you're going to bring us some really practical, actionable steps. Very important topic. But before we get into that, tell us about your agency. What do you do for? I know it's not just hospitality. You also do short-term rentals, vacation rentals. So tell me everything you guys do. Give us your elevator pitch. You take the floor and let's hear about it.
Sure. So I'm a fractional chief marketing officer, which means that I work with the C-suite and founders typically, and then the agencies or staff at the hospitality brand, because typically they have this goal that they want to achieve, and then I orchestrate the whole thing to bring it together so that everything that the marketing department does helps achieve those goals. I joke that I like to boss people around, but I'm actually not very bossy at all.
I love it. You know what? I mean, I'm not super bossy, but there are some things we can be bossy in, right? So, tell us a little bit, like, do you have a certain focus that you like to bring in, or do you just kind of take each client, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to see what your needs are, and then create like a prescriptive plan per client?
So I typically work just with the hospitality brands. So boutique hotels, vacation rental companies, and they usually have at least 50 properties, sometimes 100 or 1,000.
Yes.
But yeah, that's typically who I'll work with. So it's somebody who is recognizing that they've got a good thing going or they want to spread word about it, raise brand awareness, but they're ready to invest in marketing and they just don't have that point person between them and the agencies or staff that run marketing.
Okay. Now that makes total sense. Well, we're excited to hear today your take on AI and marketing because there's a lot. This is actually we hear a lot about AI on the show, but I think you're the first that's going to bring this perspective. So I'm excited. We're going to talk a little bit about, you said garbage in, garbage out. I love that because I do want to talk about that. Better prompting. I really want to hear what you have to say about this. And then of course the brand first approach. But before we get into any of that, will you just give me your thoughts on like what are you seeing right now with the marketing landscape specifically and the impacts of AI? I'm super curious.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is a pretty huge disparity between the larger companies that have teams that can focus on AI and using AI in the tools they already have, like the tech platforms they already have, and then layering on top of that with additional AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, right? So the bigger teams are making pretty huge strides at this point, whereas the smaller teams are like, where am I going to find the time to adopt these things that I want to adopt? I want to learn, I want to use this, but it does take time to build a foundation. So that's the biggest thing I'm seeing in hospitality right now.
Do you feel like our industry, we're historically slower, right? We just are with technology, is grasping at all like the power, what it can actually do for them? Or do you think we're all still a little bit behind like everybody else?
So, like I said before, there's kind of two buckets, right? You've got the tech stack you've already got, and there's AI now being layered into your existing
Yeah.
tech stack. And then you've got the new independent tools, the
Yeah.
AEOs, right? So, to answer your question, I feel like, first of all, we only use 10% of our tech stack's capabilities to begin with.
Yes.
And now I'm like, maybe it's 5% now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now they can probably do a lot more, but we still aren't leveraging most of what our existing tech stack can do in the hotel industry, frankly, let's be honest.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Yeah.
So I feel like instead of focusing on that first, we've kind of just kept treading water and now added on this other piece of this GPT, right? This generative
Yeah.
AI tech. So instead of kind of fleshing out what we've already got and then layering on top, we've just started layering on top.
Yeah. Well, actually, and that's interesting because one of my favorite things to do, which sounds very counterintuitive for what Affixify actually is a lot of times when we start a conversation with a hospitality group that wants to use Affixify for new tech, we also challenge them to think about what are they already using. And some of my favorite searches in our platform, which don't happen that often, is when somebody finds out their current vendor does the thing they were searching for because they use us and they're like, oh, I didn't know they did that, right? And so I think two, you have such a good point. Instead of layering all the time, and sometimes it's necessary, also, have you kept up with your current tech stacks roadmap? Like, what are your current vendors doing? Because a lot of them are already incorporating AI where maybe they hadn't in the past. So, yeah, I think you have a really good point. I think there's still a little fear around AI in general, not just in hospitality, but overall. I mean, are you seeing some of that timidity or that fear from your clients?
I'm actually not seeing fear. What I'm seeing is a concern that they're behind. Like, because I think a lot of people are posting like, oh, we have AI agents. Like our entire team is now AI agents and avatars, and they're doing all the marketing work for us. And then people see that and they're like, oh dear, I have not even started, right? So I think that's what I'm mainly seeing right now. It's not, I mean, they're excited. I think they want to adopt it. It's very exciting. It looks appealing. But I think the disparity is
huge.
Yeah.
And do we think that do you agree there is a race? They need to start thinking about this, or do you think we're putting too much emphasis and we're yet to really see the impacts of what adoption will do? Just a personal opinion.
I think that ship has sailed. I think, I think the time to be on board was yesterday.
Yeah.
But I think the assumption to be on board or using AI adoption, I think the assumption is that it's this huge monumental effort, and it's really not.
Yeah.
I think that's what I hope to clarify.
Okay. Yeah. So let's jump into that then. What is the first thing that you would help a client through? So do we want to start with your garbage in, garbage out theory? Because I love that in general, but tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So of course I have a journalism background. And so I'm all about like, are you asking the right questions? Because if you don't start out asking the right questions, you're not going to get the right answers. So that has now parlayed into prompting. So are you asking the right questions? Are you providing the right source files? A lot of people in hospitality, all the intelligence lives in their brain and nowhere else, like on paper.
Yes.
And so the first step is actually a brain dump, right? Into something written, like write it down. You know, we joke about like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, like, well, let's keep going.
Yes.
So you've got to do that brain dump and then organize it and structure that brain dump in a way that it is now a usable source file.
Right.
So that is, you could do voice to text. There's so transcribed, so many easy ways to do that. So once you get the source files, you get those baked into whatever platform you want to use, then you start saying like, okay, now I want to start drawing, out what I want to create, what I want to build. But that's absolutely the first step.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. And do you have like a guide where you help people walk, or maybe it's not like an actual guide, but like a best practice of good prompting? Because I actually struggle with that personally sometimes, and I'll be like, what is this? And then I realize, oh, I wasn't it has to have the right info for me, right? To give me what I need.
Yeah. So this is probably the best tip of the day. I'm using Gemini to write the prompt for Claude.
Please tell me. Okay, we need an example. That is amazing.
So Gemini is Google, right?
Yeah.
And Gemini has been known to have 98% accuracy in its answers. So it's a good start. Okay. Yep. And it's the web, like it's in, right? Like that's your biggest attachment. And so what I want to know is, what have CMOs who have more time and resources than I, what have they done with their Claude prompts and their project folders? And I asked Gemini this, and then Gemini's like, oh, so it goes out and it reads articles and Reddit and threads and, all of this, like, what is Giovanni's CMO doing with it? Like, what are all these really smart, resourceful CMOs doing with Claude? And Gemini's like, for B2B, it's this. For B2C, it's this. I'm like, okay, how about travel? Like any Expedia, like what are they doing? What are the CMOs doing when they're interviewed? What do they say? And then I take that. I'm like, okay, this is great research, Gemini. Thank you. Now, here's my situation. So tell me how you would apply my Claude prompt based on these best practices.
I'm mind blown right now. And it that is so smart. I'm thinking in my mind that I want to go do this now for my own use cases. Like I don't actually typically use Gemini because I'm kind of like live and die by Claude. Most of our team does a lot of Claude, but I'm thinking, why am I not doing that? That's so smart.
So here's another thing. With the hospitality industry, we are obsessed with like reports, demand generation, right? Occupancy. So like resources like Skift, AirDNA, Key Data, Price Labs, like all these people who crank out these great reports. Gemini has access to all published reports. So if you're asking it to synthesize the data on your market and travel conditions, it takes weather, Taylor Swift content, like whatever you want, and ask it to synthesize all of that research data and then apply it to your market. You know, if you're luxury, if you're whatever, and then take that and then put that into Claude.
Okay, everyone needs to hear this. I'm thinking we're gonna pull like a short on this just to post because I think that's super interesting. And are you doing this for clients as well? Are you going in and you're using the same methodology for what their needs are and to help you kind of attack that? Or how are you using it in your own agency to help your clients?
Okay, so now we're getting into like what is actually scalable.
Yeah, true. Right.
Okay, so in Gemini, they have gems.
Okay.
And that's like a little AI agent guy. And we're using the gem as a repository to keep all of that. Here's what I want, specification, and here's the brand that's concerned about these questions. So I don't have to rebuild the prompt every time.
Right.
It just lives there.
Okay. Super smart. And then, okay, now I have so many questions going around in my mind. I mean, okay, so from that, have you found that the responses from Claude really are better? Like the garbage in, garbage out, but good things in, good things, whatever the opposite of that is. What are you finding?
So I'm finding that Claude is now needing fewer iterations to get to the finish line.
Okay, I love it. And then what is your take on, I do have to ask this wasn't in our pre-show or anything, but how I have noticed, like from a marketing perspective, whether I'm a thought leader for a hotel group or I'm a thought leader for, a vendor, are you finding that it feels a little bit more AI generated, which to me is not as fun and enjoyable to read? Or do you think that these thought leaders are being really smart by using AI to generate posts? And like, what do we need to take away from that from a marketing perspective?
So since the dawn of social media, genuine content has always outperformed like fake or mailing it in content, right? That has not changed. In fact, like the basic foundation of a lot of content marketing rules have not changed over 10 years.
Good to know. Okay.
So while the shiny objects might change, basic foundation and rules still apply. I think mainly because humans are still mostly consuming it for now.
For now.
But I will say that if you have an issue where it's like you need to get content out and you're just not a writer, you just don't think like that, produce like that, but you have great ideas to share, it's fine. Like just use AI to help you with that. That's totally fine. And no judgment, like maybe polish it a little bit, but just great, get it out there.
Get it out, right.
Yeah. Now, for those of us who are writers, who are communicators through the written word, mainly, we need to stick to first draft comes from us. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be our first draft. It needs to be our copywriting. It needs to be our subject line. You can ask, just like what you did with Grammarly, help, right? Like help optimize this. But if that's your main jam, keep V1 is always from you.
Right. I like that. I really like that advice. What would you say? So when you're going in, we're going to talk a little bit about your concept of brand first approach, right? So when you come into a client, tell me a little bit about that concept, and then how does that apply to those who might be listening who want to also take a brand first approach with all of this?
Sure. So the reason that I say brand first, and I actually use my name to help me remember this. So it's BECCA, it's Brand Engine Content and Campaigns Automation.
Oh, I love Becca. Okay.
So, yeah. It just helps me remember the order.
Yeah, so smart.
The brand sits at the core, and the reason is because you are uniquely you.
Yeah.
And if you sound too vanilla, you're going to pay more on social media to compete for people's attention. You're going to lose brand retention. People won't remember your brand. They'll just remember, I want to go here. So brand is very, very important, that it's uniquely you. And then you take whatever's uniquely you, and I do have templates for this that I use in Claude, but I answer questions about USP, about key messaging, about keywords, like what is your brand lexicon? I put all those things into the brand brain, I call it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes an engine. So everything I pull out of it is on brand, is unique from my competitors, right? And then I put together the content plan. So all the content, whether it's a sales support flyer or a blog or an email, it's all on brand and it's all unique. And that's going to increase my paid efficiency too, because now I'm cutting through the noise because I don't sound like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I take my campaigns that I've put out and I get my analytics, I get my performance, I export GA4 data, Google Ads data. You don't actually have to export it anymore. You can just connect it through an app.
Yeah.
And then I put that into Gemini, because going back to strengths and weaknesses, Gemini is really good at crunching numbers. Claude, not so much.
Yeah.
So I run the analytics through the gem, it spits out a summary, and I put that summary back into Claude, and now I have my automated process where I push out the content, analyze it, and now I've got this nice loop going.
Amazing. I'm so impressed. I think, so what I'm hearing too from you is there's so much education to be done, and you're really breaking it down. I think for people, I'm learning right now, right? And I would say we're pretty AI forward, but I'm really learning. So if I were watching this, whether it's live or on YouTube later, and I wanted to know, okay, maybe I can't afford, a whole strategy redo right now for my brand, but I want to start somewhere. How would you recommend, like, maybe 1 or 2 tips to even just start incorporating AI into your marketing, maybe for someone that isn't ready to bring in, the experts, but they know they're behind?
So I would, again, go back to the source files and start building out, who am I? How am I different? All of the basic foundational things about marketing, just get those all documented and make sure that it's consistent, and then get that into one of your source files. And you don't have to use Claude, you could use other things. I think for marketing, Claude is my personal favorite, but there's Perplexity, there's other things you can use, but you put those source files in, and then you give it really good instructions. Like, what area of marketing should I even invest in? How should I determine which marketing channel is best for me, right? So all those things, all those questions, just ask questions, and Claude will brainstorm with you. But again, back to the garbage in, garbage out, if you don't provide it with like really good source files to start, you're not going to get the right answers. And those source files, by the way, include like your guest reviews, your personas, all of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's brilliant. And it's a nice way to merge data from various platforms and really slice and dice things, which is, historically, right? Our tech doesn't always talk to each other in hospitality. I think we're improving, but I think that's a really important piece. And then my last question, I ask every guest this, is, have you had an aha moment in this process, whether it was at the beginning of kind of like when you started really adopting and getting interested in AI, or somewhere on your journey, like to get you here? What was your aha moment, maybe specifically with AI?
I think a friend told me that I don't have to have the automated agent works while you sleep set up. I felt like everybody was doing that, and so I should have been doing that. But so much of what marketers do and so much of hospitality is a unique situation. Like, didn't see that coming.
Yes.
So it's hard to have that on like rinse repeat. So I would say my first aha moment was like, you know what? I don't have to do what everybody else is doing. I just don't.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do it on ChatGPT. I just
I
don't.
love it. I love that. Well, I think that's a good aha moment beyond just AI, right? Is like being uniquely who we are and what we, following exactly what we feel is best. And I think that was a perfect aha moment. I ditched ChatGPT a while back, not because I didn't love it, but when I discovered what Claude could do, for me personally, it just works so much better. So everybody finds what works for them. I am going to try Gemini though after this because I'm super curious what it could be doing. But with that, so Rebecca, thank you so much for this. I love hearing your thoughts. Now, obviously, for those watching, you can connect with Rebecca and her agency through Affixify. So you'll find her under our agency platforms if you want to carry on the conversation. If you need her expertise, which you probably do in your business, find her there. And then, Rebecca, how can anybody follow along with your journey and thought leadership? Is that LinkedIn? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I post a lot on LinkedIn. So happy to connect, happy to receive a DM, happy to get comments there.
Love it. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. It was just awesome to talk with you, to have you as our guest. And for those watching, we'll be back next week. We actually will be back next Tuesday instead of Wednesday. And we will have the team at Logic BI. It's a new BI startup doing some incredible things. And they will be talking to us about business intelligence best practices. So we will see you guys then. And thank you so much again, Rebecca, for joining us today.
Thank you.